Welcome back to your favorite comedy finance channel. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I am here with Source Protocol. They run on Cosmos. They are excellent builders. They have an entire ecosystem that we are going to talk about today. We have Corey, which is CEO, correct? Or co-founder?
CTO, yes.
CTO?
Yes,
Okay.
we're all co-founders, and I'm the CTO. Hi, guys.
What is going on, man? And Jack, and we have Walter. Can you tell us what your responsibilities are clockwise here, and just that way you introduce us?
Sure, I'm the CFO of Source Protocol.
Yep, I'm the head of strategy. I deal with a lot of partnerships as well as a little bit of marketing here and there too.
Awesome. So here we're MYC Odd App. If you guys were to ever go to MYCNETWORK.CRYPTO, you'll understand that we have a variety of different types of people that watch our show. It's admins, developers, and also investors from different ecosystems, different blockchains, and this does help our community learn a little bit faster than your average investor out there. That's just price up, price down, and that's as far as it goes. What we want to do more than anything is, tie together the communication, between all three different types of interest, those three types of minds, to really establish the correct expectations on growth, the correct expectations on effort, blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to put these projects out there and to get to that next level. So that's one thing that we really want to put out there, and get away from, the sensationalism of what the crypto sector is out there. We want to be a little bit more realistic. A lot of people want unicorn money, but they don't want to put the unicorn effort into it. They sit there and say, man, well, how come I don't have my Lambos in 1 year or 2 years? But if you take a look at Amazon, you take a look at Tesla, Disney, a lot of these other companies that are unicorn companies, it always took, more than 5, 10, 15, 20 years to get to those expectations, right? So, we want to make sure that we could get more of our community and a lot of the viewers out there to start getting involved, with building with people like you guys. And also, trying out the technology. That's one thing that we were doing with a variety of other companies. This, if we meet somebody, we want to try it out, see what it's like and see what we like, see what we don't like, provide that feedback. So that way, it helps you guys build better, or, it gives you that feedback to know, like, hey, we built something that works. That's part of actually building, to get user feedback. And that's what we want to do here at MYC. Now, what would you guys like to get started with? I know you guys have an entire ecosystem. So we'll start from the top, Corey. What do you want to talk to us about first?
Absolutely. Well, we can give a full scope of the ecosystem here. It really starts with Source Chain. That is the layer 1 blockchain that we built in the Cosmos ecosystem. We're currently in a testnet phase, and we're preparing, getting ready to go to the mainnet. Right now, with testing, we have validators running. We have the rewards running. We're building our DEX and swap on top of that. All of this can be seen and viewed. But really, that's going to be the heart and soul of what the Source ecosystem is. Everything will stem from the chain that we've built to provide that ecosystem for our community.
Now, is there going to be a mainnet token eventually? I know there was. You had the SRXC. Is that what it was?
That's correct. So it's SRCX. It's currently what we call an automated DeFi token that exists on the Binance Smart Chain. This eventually is something that will, tie over to our chain later on. However, for the blockchain itself, we have what's called Source. That'll be the native coin of the Source blockchain.
So there's going to be like the base layer would be called Source, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And that's going to be running on Cosmos, I'm assuming, right?
Yes. So that'll be our chain. That's a Cosmos SDK based chain with CosmWasm for smart contract development. That's
awesome. Now, are you guys going to eventually try to integrate with Osmosis, or what are your plans tethering in, or do you have your own ambitions to kind of like have your own thing, or what kind of involvement are you going to have with Cosmos as an ecosystem?
Yeah, so with one of the reasons we chose Cosmos is because of the IBC capabilities and being able to connect to these other chains. So we definitely plan to have connections to Osmosis, Juno, Atom, all of these major chains. We do have our own DEX and swap that'll be on our chain as well. but we'll be on all the other ones as well.
That's awesome. That's actually really interesting because it's like, you're going to be getting, two sides of market share there, and then also providing an additional tool too. So that's pretty awesome. Now, is there anything else in the pipeline, or do you have like a timeline of what you expect 2023 to look like? I don't know if you guys have a roadmap, or is there anything you could tell us on that?
Yeah. So, heading here into the rest of the year, we plan to go mainnet. With the mainnet, that will come our airdrop. Our airdrop will go to, we can dive into that a little bit more, but we'll go to people who already stake Atom on the Cosmos chain, and those people who will hold SRCX, and those who participate as validators on our testnet currently. So that'll be kind of our first major, our landmark with the chain. With that, our DEX will follow. We plan to launch that, pretty much in tandem with the chain. So that'll be available for trading and liquidity providing, almost right away. So from there, we do have other parts of our ecosystem. We have lending and borrowing in the work, as well as, a few other features that tie that all together.
That's awesome.
And we'll actually be launching our first partnership as we kind of release here with a company called GiveBucks, which is actually a public company here in Southern California where I am. That's basically bringing, gift card system and charity based, basically every transaction you do with them, a portion of it gets paid to charity that's paid by the end, not the user, but the actually end business. So an Amazon or a Cheesecake Factory, whatever they're actually going to be using us for both their fiat and crypto to crypto exchange.
Oh, wow.
So we're really bringing that to kind of bring retail utility to the crypto world, which is going to be a very exciting release.
So are you guys going to have an off ramp as well then for this to happen, or like how is it going to work when because you're going to get the crypto, you're going to have an off ramp, and I'm assuming there's going to be a card, or is there, how would that work, or how does it work?
So most of it's virtual. We are building on the off ramps and working with them on their end because they have their own development team for there. We're going to be kind of the transactional ecosystem that they run on. So we're finalizing that, and it should be coming out right around the same time we release the chain. And it will be, it's actually out and working right now on GiveBucks side of things. They did an amazing job as a group, kind of scratching and clawing to get all these amazing retailers from, as I said, Amazon, pretty much all big box retail and major chain restaurants on their system. Now they're building up their user base, and they really want to go with the crypto people who are in general very giving people and like the charity aspect of it, as well as obviously building their fiat side. And we're finalizing all the different technology on their side and the off ramps to kind of get that launched right when we launch our mainnet.
That is awesome. It's so crazy because it's like, you take a look at a lot of these payment cards, and they're like, it's almost like they're all moving away. They're moving away from these banks, and they're looking for these different protocols to work with. There's so much more money out there. There's so much need for an off ramp, because a lot of times, a lot of this money is stuck in the crypto sector. A lot of this money, they don't want to put it somewhere through the banks or whatever the case, because in certain places they're limited or they get cut off. There's actually been a lot of reports of banks trying to stop people from buying crypto. So, clearly the banks are at war, but the payment rails called these credit cards or these Visa cards, they don't care. They just want the volume. They want those transactions. They want the railways happening. So, to them, it's like, well, if you're not going to allow it to go through here, then we're just going to connect it over here. So I'm really excited about what the future is going to hold. I really do see more off ramps, more on ramps coming out where we're not going to need the banks as much. And the more the merrier. I would love to just completely rug the banks and just work with crypto only off ramps, on ramps, and have my crypto card. That's it. Boom. And what's nice with a lot of these different cards is they offer some sort of kickback, or I think like crypto.com and Coinbase, they have like a 4% kickback on purchases and all those different things. So it's always good to see that type of development happening. We 5 years ago, we couldn't talk about this. A few years ago, this was like still taboo. This was never going to happen. And now here we are, right?
And the cool part about this is first off, the charity part is amazing, right? You're given to charities that you pick and get on the system as long as they're, cleared and legit. So you're giving to your own charities and other people's charities that you want to, and it doesn't come out of your own pocket, which is great. And, you know, it won't be day one, it'll be soon after. It's going to be, you know, you could be, hey, you know, at the mall and like, hey, there's a cheesecake factory, let's go. And you can just do it right there on your phone and pay with that, and basically have used your XYZ crypto to pay for your lunch, right? And that's the goal, I think, to getting away crypto from just being, you know, speculative and investor type thing to having a lot more utility. And that's kind of a lot of what our goals is, and especially with that first partnership. And I should probably, for your audience, just preface this. I do come from traditional finance, so I apologize, everyone. I'm not from a bank, but I am from very large asset management firms and hedge funds. So I have lived that life. I've kind of seen the light, but, you know, just so everyone knows in case anyone looks it up later.
Well, you know, before I got into crypto full time, I mean, I've been doing this full time for a little bit over 3 years now. But prior to that, I used to work in corporate, you know, so there you go. You know, I used to do business brokering for M&A firm. We worked within the middle market. So we were doing full sales or partial sales, strategic partnerships, whatever the case. So I worked with a lot of PE firms, and whatever we could do to put a merger together, or, you know, even if an acquirer was looking for something, you know, if somebody needed more staffing or somebody needed to reduce costs, you know, connecting these different acquisitions to the total platform, you know, those things are so fun to me, because it's like you get to pick apart a business model and find out, you know, what you exactly need to make a bigger conglomerate that could not only reduce your expenses, but also increase your revenue. So it was always like, it definitely sent me down that rabbit hole to find crypto for sure. Because if it wasn't for that particular firm, I would have never really accidentally tripped into crypto, to be honest with you. But
well,
you know,
yeah, for me, it's not that dissimilar, not to stoke on this too much, but I mean, I you know, I'm a little older than you probably, but I lived through, you know, the financial crisis. I was on the floor during that for the housing crisis, and just doing these things. And Wall Street is fantastic at creating projects and asset classes and investments that people want, but are not necessarily good for them. Right.
I mean, look at the bond market. You know, the inflation rate is well over 6%, and yield is anywhere between, I would say, 4.5 to what? No, actually, not. So 4.5 is your 2-year, and then the rest is like 2 to 3%. So,
yeah,
you know,
you're not even at 4% on a 30-year, which is probably right, because I think inflation's a little overdone, but not to get into that weeds of it. But like, yeah, it's just Wall Street is very good at creating products. That's what the sell side is. It's a sales funnel, and they're very, very good at it. And I think that they kind of are missing the technology boat, and what can be happening here. They're getting on it a little bit, and that's kind of how I got involved. But they're getting on it. But the ability for, you know, crypto to be a meaningful landmark in technology as well as in finance it's not an if, it's a when, and that's the exciting part.
Exactly. I do feel like the markets are liquid right now. You know, you really think about it, even as a speculator, you know, you're taking a look at a lot of these companies, especially like Source Protocol for, you know, lending, and, you know, all these different liquidity providing. You get the transaction fees per transaction. There's so many different ways that these mechanisms could work, you know, and right now we're dealing with a particular amount of liquidity, right? And, you know, of course, a lot of these companies, you know, they could be working with a, you know, X amount of hundreds of thousands, millions, or whatever the case, in some cases, billions. But if you really think about it, even at those numbers, these are still small companies compared to the mass amounts of liquidity that will eventually come here, because the banks themselves are searching for yield. Everyone's searching for yield. So where are they going to go? To the next emerging market, and that's the crypto sector. So, you know, the companies like this really do get me excited, because it's like you're pretty much preparing, you know, the lake. You have the lake, you have it all ready to go, and now the liquid just needs to come in, and it's coming in every single day. It seems like, you know, from last cycles, you know, to what we deal with now. You would think that, you know, the whole thing was going to come down, and it just doesn't. Now the cycles are going to be a little bit more consistent. I see the scalability of the market in general. Like, I think we went down to, I think, roughly mid 800 billion or so, and now we're well ahead of 1 trillion now. So it's like, it's good to see stability in the crypto market, and I think that sustainability will continue and increase as we go forward.
Yeah, and there were some projects that needed to probably go the wayside. It just is the way it is, and, you know, it's unfortunate for any investors or anyone who was involved in that. Always is. My heart goes out to them. But there are certain things in there that probably, there was a big boom, as we all know, in 2021, beginning of 2022. And, in that process, you get some, bad eggs that probably don't belong. A lot of that has been sifted out with the back half of 2022. And now you got a lot of really good projects, and I'm going to throw us in that boat, of course, as well, that are, getting launched and building and doing well. And, investors are seeing that and getting excited. And it's a good time, I think, to be an investor and a builder and a user in this space. And so that's what's really exciting. Sorry, Jack, I think I cut you off. So let me shift over to you.
You're fine. I was just going to chime in and mention that, I think something important to make your audience aware of is really our whole approach with this, right? Corey and Walt have kind of spoke to you about our tech, one of our key partners that's going to be coming, pretty soon here, and we'll be making announcements around. But, really, what's the strategy? How are we going to build tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, and soon millions of users in the next couple of years? And really, we kind of have a main philosophy at Source that revolves around the fact that consumers will adopt tech if it's functional from businesses and industries that they already consume from, right? I think something that differentiates us in a big way is that we are not only focused on the end user, right? Like folks like us on the phone call here that want to go lend or borrow or stake or whatever it may be at whatever dollar value they want to be at. But what we're also extremely focused on is real enterprise. What we could dub as Web 2 companies that haven't made the leap to Web 3 yet and who are ripe for that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and an example of that, and one that we're working on as well, and actually sifting through a couple different partner opportunities, is like mortgage loan servicing and the rights behind that, right? That is a perfect industry and a multi-billion-dollar industry across the world. Walt would probably correct me on that, say, hey, it's actually more like hundreds of billions, if not trillions, dollar industry. Yeah, that is ripe to adopt blockchain tech and implement it in their stack, and giving them the ability to remove a lot of middlemen that are just causing them headache and slowing down their processes now. So we are, again, not only focused on the end user, but focused on bringing real enterprise to blockchain and crypto technology that I don't think a lot of other companies are very focused on, especially in the Cosmos ecosystem. And that's something that we're extremely excited about, and I think is going to make us stand out a little bit as we start to reveal announcements and partnerships over the course of the next year, 2 years, 3 years. So I thought I'd just chime in and add that to make your audience aware.
Yeah, absolutely. And you picked the right blockchain as well. Cosmos is very popular, and I still believe it's still in its fetal stages. A lot of people see it. Yeah, it could be expensive for the average investor, but you really think about where it's going or how big it can be or will be, especially given its ecosystem expansion over the past, just the past couple of years. So I do anticipate a lot of growth, and all the companies that will work on top of it as well, they're going to also grow. So definitely the right blockchain, definitely the right ideas, and the right passion too. The fact that you guys are caring for others, you're caring for community, you're working with the right people, and you have the right vision too. Having the right vision is like I always like to put community first myself. And how you build a community is doing a little bit more for others than you do yourself. So I really love that charity aspect of things. I also like the enterprise level of things as well. Now, is there a particular, I got two questions, and we're going to unpack a lot of the things that you guys data bombed me with. Okay. So let's first talk about this airdrop. Okay. So this airdrop is going to be for people that are already participating as validators, and also for people that are holding the SRCX. Say again, I want to make sure I get the right ticker.
Yes, SRCX. I think of it as SourceX, but it's the source token.
Gotcha. And then also, who else gets to participate in that particular airdrop? Other stakers on Cosmos as well?
Yes. So if you're already a delegator on Cosmos to an Atom validator node, with certain parameters, then you are eligible to receive the source airdrop. Same goes for people who are holders of the SRCX token on the Binance Smart Chain, as well as those who are already being validators on our testnet in preparation to become a validator when we go to mainnet. So they will all be rewarded. The easiest way to keep track of this and to participate in this is we actually have a members dashboard directly on our website at sourceprotocol.io. This allows any of our members to sign up. You can sync your SRCX address and your Cosmos source addresses together. This signs you up for the airdrop, gives us all the information we need in order to airdrop you those tokens at mainnet. However, if you are already a delegator on the Atom chain, we've been taking several snapshots of Atom Network over the last several months in preparation. You're not required to sign up for the dashboard. If you're an Atom delegator, you'll receive that automatically. But we do suggest, sign up. There's a lot of other perks for being a member on our dashboard as well. So that's probably the easiest way. We're very active in Discord and our Telegram or in our testnet channels. So anybody who's a validator looking to build smart contracts or participate in that as well, which helps benefit your airdrop rewards, come join us, come hang out. So
perfect. And I love our community loves building, and one of our members is already a validator for Source Protocol. So and shout out to Byte Storage as well on just connecting us as well on this. He helped one of our members set up a validator for Source Protocol, and I always try to get a lot of investors out there to think a little bit bigger than just price up, price down. And think about building. Think about, what else you could do besides just watch a chart 24/7 and, drive yourself crazy. There's so much more to do. There's definitely money to be made in every piece and every sector of this whole industry. So I always try to get people to learn a little bit deeper than just, okay, we learned about the company, sounds cool, but okay, let's play with the tools. Let's play with what they have to offer. Let's see the way these things work, provide that feedback. So that way, especially as a builder, when you're a builder, you want to hear that feedback because you want to know if there's any, if there's a bug, is the user, usability, is it easy? There's always a learning curve when you're using new tools, but it's always nice to play with something brand new and then see a nice flow,
100%.
There was another thing that we were just discussing. There was so much to unpack. Okay, so we got past the airdrop. There was something else that you guys mentioned. It'll come back to me. But let me ask you this. Is there a particular time frame do you feel that mainnet will go live?
Yeah, so we're finalizing some investment terms and things on us that we want to have in place for the launch of the mainnet. So, I'd say probably middle of second quarter is when we're looking for the release.
Awesome. Okay, so this year you guys are planning to launch.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And most of the technology is done. Corey and his team done an amazing job getting us, through the 8th inning and getting us to the top of the 9th. So hopefully there's some baseball fans in the audience, and we'll finish off the last inning here very shortly.
That's awesome. Now, is there anything else that you guys would like to share with us about the ecosystem? There's definitely more to this entire thing.
One thing I would say is that in line with what I mentioned a little bit ago is, we've built this ecosystem to service everybody from individual users like us on the call here, to developers who want to go build, anything from DeFi to NFT-based tools, to decentralized science-based applications, and really anything you could see utilizing a smart contract in any way, shape, or form. And then all the way to the enterprise, as I described before. So we're really hyper-focused on bringing in kind of all swaths of individuals to contribute to this ecosystem in a number of ways. We also plan on being highly community driven, as you kind of mentioned a little bit ago, Dion, in the sense that, our community pool on the Source Chain network is going to be something that we pay a lot of attention to, and hope to stir up great community involvement in projects as a result, through funding and that kind of a thing. And then, what I would mention in regards to what Walt was just talking about surrounding our launch is we're being extremely strategic about this. I think there are a lot of projects who are just eager to get after the, kind of shiny object of crypto and get launched before they really have all their ducks in a row. We've been working on this project for 2 years. There are a lot of people involved. I would say close to 25 or 30 at this point. Several investors and more that are being brought on board right now from a private equity standpoint. And we are putting ourselves in a position to come full throttle and not just quarter or half throttle when we launch. And that is why, we appreciate our community being patient with us over the last, several months as we gear up for that. So yeah, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but thought those were important
no,
things.
not at all. I mean, I like hearing this type of stuff. That's important information because a lot of people, unfortunately, especially for beginners, when people first get into crypto or they start thinking about building something or they launch something, they don't really understand how much work it actually takes, how many people you actually need. It actually takes a community to push the projects forward, so it's always good to focus on community first, focus on all the little attributes that you need right before launch. So it's good that you guys, took the time to really put this together. How do you guys feel about the markets going forward? I know a lot of people, especially builders, around the bear market, this is the best time to build because this is when that you have the downtime. This is the time to find the right people to build. This is the time where you really do get to find the right people because whenever everything's exciting, you get a lot of people that are going to, be your best friend for a couple months and then they're gone, right? The bear market is really so valuable. I personally, I really hope that we kind of get a little bit more downtime. I really feel like, from here, it looks like we might trend a little bit more sideways, a little bit more in increments. But, for the most part, I feel like we're at that nice, happy medium where we're going to find the right people that, actually want to work, instead of just being here for the hype, Well, how do you guys feel about the market as you go forward? Was that part of the strategy as well? Or what can you tell me about how the market plays into your strategies?
So it's definitely part of the strategy to a degree. First, I'll comment on the market. I actually don't disagree with you that we could see some sideways here. I mean, we've seen Bitcoin up about 50% on the year, and we're only in February, right? So
I think that surprised a lot of people.
It did, and I think everyone. I have a lot of comments here. I'll try and keep it quick.
Oh,
but
the more I could get out of you guys, the better. I mean, our audience, they want to know. They want to know you guys. The one thing I really try to do is really kind of give people the vibe of who you guys are, even on a personal level.
Yeah. So I'm a markets guy by true and true. That's what I spent my career doing, and I love that aspect of it. I'm going to go in a point by point a little bit here. First on Dean, I love the point that you made that you want to get people away of, constantly looking at the up and down and staring at the charts. And I think that's what crypto has been for almost its entirety. And it was justified. There wasn't a heck of a lot of fundamentals that you could base a lot of investments on, a little bit here and there, but it was a lot of chart following, technical analysis. And people use a lot of technical analysis in stock market too. Nothing wrong with it. It's tried and true. I think it's going to start in the near future. And I think we're going to be part of that wave, into being a little bit more, almost from a 0% or maybe a 0.25%, level of fundamental analysis.
Builders are a rare breed. I'll give you that.
Yeah. to getting into being, fundamental analysis mattering, right? Because you're gonna start to see some companies mature. You're gonna have more sophisticated companies coming in and getting involved, especially with the current, what happened with the bear market wiping out a lot of some of this hype, we'll call it. I think those words you use, and I like that. I think you're going to see much more sound and firm companies coming in from a technology standpoint that are sticking around and making money on the technology side of things, not just the, pumping a chart or something like that. Yep. So I think that's going to be very key for your client, your customers and your clientele, and our clientele and our customers, as well as your audience. I think that's one thing I think everybody should be keeping in the back of their mind right now.
I'll stop you right there.
I'll give you a pause.
Just put there because you're going to actually enjoy what I'm going to tell you, because you told me that you were part of the past cycles within the stock market. So, isn't it kind of weird how, especially in the crypto market now, as it's starting to mature, that people are figuring out that companies actually need to make money to keep going? Isn't that crazy?
Well,
You know?
I'm a CFO, so that's like my
I mean,
thing. Every
I
time I talk
know
to
it
somebody,
might be mind blowing. It might be, you know, I don't know what came over me, you know.
Oh no, I got spreadsheets, people. I'll show you how we make money. Don't worry, like I'm on it.
You know,
I agree with it
it's
100%.
just, it's so crazy, you know, because it's like the bear market really does reveal, you know, who was just taking in money, spending it, and who was actually putting the money to work or investing it back into technology. You know, a lot of people in the crypto sector, they don't do this full time, or they don't have the ability to, and it's because, you know, maybe, yeah, for sure, it's an experience thing, you know, but as the market was going up, you know, a lot of people, you know, burned through money, or they didn't do the right things with it and stuff like that. Our community was very smart with it. You know, we invested it in the right places. And especially, you know, on my side, you know, the first thing I thought about was sustainability. What can we do to continue this this brand, and what can we do to continue this company, keep it rolling? And that's how we built up our software called OddApp. And you know, that's what really kept us going on the other side of things. A lot of people, you know, they typically use things like you know, Patreon, or, you know, OnlyFans, or whatever other system. But our biggest issue was, you know, was with like Telegram or with Discord. You know, sometimes, and you guys will probably already have experienced this already. And I'm sure you guys are going to eventually, as you guys grow, you're going to start decentralizing every piece about what you guys do together. Because when you're a builder or you're building something, you don't want trolls in your server. You don't want people just you know, messing around, or, you know, whatever the case. And that's kind of why we built our own type of forum where, you know, it's military grade encryption. You can't screenshot in there. It's very private. So we decentralized ourselves from the highway of servers, from Telegram, Discord, you know, no bots, 100% humans are in there. We've only been around for like a month or so, but we've accumulated about 300 users. And, you know, we do anticipate growth, but, you know, at the same time, using this as an example, you know, sustainability is important. And companies, especially within the crypto sector, if you want true scalability, you need to have value creation and also value capture. And, you know, you're not going to be around for the bull cycles and the bear cycles all the time if you don't have sustainability. You know, what can you guys tell me about, you know, what your plans are as you guys build this out for sustainability? You know, what's going to drive sustainability? What's going to drive consumer demand and bring together the community that you guys are building right now?
Yeah, love the question, by the way, right in the wheelhouse. So what our plan is and what we're executing on right now is what I think a lot of companies have, you know, not put enough attention to in the crypto world. And there's tons of companies. As I said, I come from, you know, kind of traditional finance, but there's tons of enterprise and institutional companies out there who see the value of blockchain, and they see the value of Web3, but they have no idea how to start. And too many chains and too many companies out there are like, oh yeah, you can build on us, but they're not giving any resources to help those people get started. These aren't necessarily tech firms, like at their base, at least they have tech departments, of course. Yes. And they're trying to figure out like, hey, how can this save us money? How can this help our margins? How can this help the speed of what we, you know, deliver to our clients? And we're very good at that. And that's why we have a list, I think, of 29, being very specific there, of partnerships that are kind of like ready to go in different increments, because we've been doing that for several months, talking to all these different companies, most of which are not what you would consider a traditional crypto-based company, that are like, hey, we see the value of this. And Jack hit on it very well with the mortgage servicing rights earlier. Like, you know, blockchain is a great technology, and, you know, some things have been, you know, maybe missed there or alluded to wrongly for various reasons, but like, this technology really spans almost all industry and can be much better than a lot of different technologies that are being out there for database analysis and stuff like that. And they just don't know exactly, you know, they're nervous, they're scared, they don't understand the whole sector, they don't understand crypto, they don't understand blockchain fully.
How to make a business model.
Yeah, and they want someone,
you know,
we're talking big companies.
Believe it or not, guys, these companies, or, you know, these crypto companies, they actually need to sell a product or service. You know, that's what's funny. You know, sometimes we'll run into, I mean, again, you know, a lot of the people that are getting into crypto right now, they're new to business, you know, and they get to the part where they can make the mechanisms, you know, but then they forget how to make the product of the service. And then on the other side, sometimes this is, I mean, you guys will probably run into this at some point, or maybe you already run into it. But have you ever ran into a customer that is surprised that they have to be a customer?
Right.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's a good point. Yeah,
That's great.
Advice from you? Huh?
Right. And like to your point a second ago, Dion, you know, like you do need a product to sell and you do need sales, and you can't just rely, in the case of DeFi, let's say, for example, on endless APY that eventually goes rogue.
Man, we needed you guys in Cosmos.
Right.
We needed you guys because
and Dion, you
so
hit our
happy
business model.
Save that part for me. I'm going to listen to Walter, but just save that idea because I'm going to tell you some stories. But go ahead, Walter.
No, Dion, you hit our business model though. We want to show builders how to make themselves into a company, into a profitable business. We want them to come to Source Protocol to build, and we will help them become a business. Right? There's too many, what I like to call products, right? You have a product, but you don't have a business, right? Yeah. We want to take it to that next step and apply the ecosystem for you to have a business. And that's really, if we could say anything, that's what I think I'd say.
And one thing I'd mention, Dion, before we move on is, and this even goes back to a question.
We're gonna stay on that topic you were on, so.
Yeah. And this even goes back to something you asked like 5 minutes ago about kind of, you know, what are the plans? How are we going to get launched? That kind of thing. What kind of footing do we have to stand on? I think another big differentiator that is worth mentioning here is a lot of other what we'll call projects in the crypto and blockchain ecosystem. They start with the marketing side of the house. They get a community really hyped up about a product that they want to go build, right? And oftentimes, as I'm sure you guys have seen dozens and dozens and dozens of times over, comes to fruition, it was all left on hype, and that's when you see these things fall off and die. We have spent the last 2 years with our own money, private investors' money, that kind of thing, building up real tech before we go hit marketing and that hot button super hard, right?
Exactly.
We are not just a paper napkin. Our tech is built. Corey could probably put an accurate kind of percentage on where we are, and Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're 95% of the way there with most of our products, especially publicly.
Yeah, at least.
Not to mention others. Yeah, not to mention others that are in the background that are being worked on through partners. So we're not just a hype machine that's hoping to bring in investors and then use that money to go build. We're already there. Exactly. I think that's really important. So we have a serious foot to stand on right now, right?
I like that you said that. You know, there's a lot of projects that they have the idea, and I get it. You know, a lot of projects are startups. I get it. But the thing is you give money to go do something and they don't get it done. That sucks, you know? And again, you know, look, you know, and shout out to, you know, every builder out there that has the courage to build, because 95% of projects, including LLCs, they fail. So, you know, it does take a lot of courage. It does take a lot of effort, time, money, and blood just to make something happen. So, you know, shout out to anybody that has the courage to fail, has the courage to try. Okay. I'm not going to down you for those things. Okay. Never going to down anybody for that. Okay. At the same time, though, I love the ideology of building something first before you start talking about it. Build it up first until you have a product or until you have the service or the mechanism ready to go. Then you could go to that marketing phase, because now, you, like you said, you have a foot to stand on. You say, hey, this is what I have. It's right here. You could check right here. You could go on you know, Google, or you go on Apple Store, whatever. It's right here. This is proof that we have what we say we have. And I love that. And you know, what's funny about this all goes back to what Walter and we were just talking about. Isn't it crazy that you actually need to make money? You actually need to have a product and a service and a business model to survive. And somewhere down the line, you know, and I'm going to assume it's because you know, we have a lot of younger generation coming into the crypto sector, and unfortunately they forget that part of things, you know. But you know, I will say though that there are other ideologies that are just straight up on no company, just currency, you know. But again, that's such a far-fetched thing to have. I get it.
Can
you
I
know.
comment on that for 1 second, if you don't mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a boom market thing, right? And it's not a crypto thing, right? You go to the .com. I mean, you just had to be able to be lucky enough to get out fast enough, but you could have made a fortunes, both being a company and being an investor, on investing in basically nothing, as long as it had a .com at the bottom, at the back of it, right? And, you know, in crypto, yeah, people have made fortunes and lost fortunes doing the same thing. But if you got out in time, but unfortunately, and to your, I think your very valid point, that's a tough strategy because at some point you're going to be left holding the bag.
Because there was no, I love what Jack, you know, I'm very happy you said that, because we were, you know, I was always upset with a lot of Cosmos projects, you know, I'll be honest with you. We actually love Cosmos. I love the layer. Okay. I like there's another company called Bluezo that's starting to work on them. But you know, the other companies like Juno, there was some other ones, like there were random ones that started popping up out of nowhere, and they were all like, hey, we got yield, hey, we got yield, hey, we got yield. How are you going to sustain this yield? You know, and it got to that point where I was like, guys, if we're going to play with this, you know, time your stakes. You better time your stakes, because the last thing you want is being locked in your stake and you go to zero because you can't get out. And that's what happened. In fact, I literally had warned people. I remember when Juno was around the $25 to $27 range. I was like, guys, that's the time to really unlock, or at least have it liquid. You know, if you really love it, you know, whatever, but make it liquid. And everybody was so sauced on the Kool-Aid of passive income that they just kept it until bad news came up about some random nonsense that was going on. There were, I won't get into it, but long story short, no one wanted to listen to this, and they got stuck. And, you know, thankfully, a lot of us, you know, did well. But at the same time, nothing hurt me more than hearing that somebody didn't listen to that. You know, hey, it's unsustainable. You might want to plan your stake. And there were a lot of people that got stuck. You know, but again, you know, these are metrics that can work. They can work, but you need value creation. You need value capture to continue this. And the bear market, all it did was just expose the bullshit, expose unsustainable projects. Exactly. That's all that happened. So, you know, I'm happy that you guys are doing it the right way. I'm happy you guys got the right vision, the right pathway. And the fact that you have a business model in mind is, you know, unfortunately Einstein in this sector. For whatever reason, you know. So, you know, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So, but that is awesome. That is awesome. So you guys, so you guys have partnerships, you know, and apparently, you know, I guess this is going to be, is that 29 partnerships, or is there partnerships and 29 products that you guys have in mind, or can you explain to me?
The list is,
or tell me the products that you guys have in mind that you want to develop.
Yeah, the list is really 29 different companies that we've had at least some discussion with on bringing it, and it ranges from, you know, obviously GiveBucks and mortgage servicing rights to nanotechnology companies. You know, and honestly, my ultimate goal, I came from the bond markets, the corporate bond market specifically. Ever since
what's wrong with you? I'm just playing. How do you sleep at night? I'm just playing.
I'm not.
But I, you know, I worked at BlackRock too, so you know, yeah, I've seen it all. But no, I see no reason that the corporate bond market should not be on a blockchain. Absolutely none.
I think, honest to God, I mean, you're the perfect guy for it, because you got to really think about it, like, for you to have that experience, right? And then for you to countersell it on DeFi, my God, it's over. You know, I was literally talking to the guys about that just yesterday, where I was like, guys, you know, the 2 years about 4.5%. USDC is earning 0.50%. They're giving out 4% right now. I don't know how that's going to ultimately, you know, work out. You know, I don't see. there's a lot of things I think about with the stable coins and stuff like that, because they are backing the stable coins with US treasuries or bonds or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, treasuries. Yeah.
But again, you take a look at everything. Okay, well, on a 2-year, they have a pretty aggressive rate, I guess. But and then the longer ones are even worse. They're, I think, 3%. They're actually less. What's weird? That
it's an inverted curve. Yeah.
Yeah. The longer plans are actually less yield. So they actually want you to do 2 years. Now that's kind of, to be honest with you, I wonder what that means, because I feel like that's also says something too about where we're at,
it does. Yeah.
But at the same time, for you to have experience in that industry and to be able to counter sell it, especially with DeFi, I mean, you really think about it, it really won't take enough. It won't take a lot of yield to be competitive in this particular market, but again, what are you guys thinking about when it comes to yield? What do you guys have a bracket, or do you guys have percentages that you have in mind that you're planning on releasing for, let's say, staking?
So, Walt, I actually think a great way to dig into this, I was going to make a joke about what you were saying, Dion, about Walt kind of switching sides for lack of a term. You should have seen his LinkedIn.
I'm going to get up on Walt this entire time. I feel it.
But Walt, I want to give you the floor back, because you, especially like in our internal meetings and that kind of thing, when we talk about the types of customers we want to bring on from both the individual user perspective to enterprises themselves, you always bring up a really great point of working with like corporate controllers, let's say at tech companies who are operating out of the EU and experiencing like negative nominal interest rates and that kind of thing, right? And being able to fork over a very small percentage to start of their overall inventory, let's just put it that way, to utilize DeFi in a way. So maybe you can expound upon that and give the audience a little bit of that juice.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So I think the EU now actually has at least flat interest rates, but they were negative interest rates for a long time, which means that to put your money in the
participation trophies at this point.
Well, that's better. I mean, before you actually paid the bank to keep your money in there. So it's like, I actually made more money by keeping it under my mattress, which is not something you want people doing. So,
because people are losing money on yield and principal. That's even worse,
100%.
Well, and if you're not holding a bond to maturity right now, that's a scary thing in and of itself, but we can talk about that another time. I'm not going to get into duration and convexity risk on a crypto conversation.
You're good. It looks like a falling knife, so we won't even talk about that. So go ahead.
So those are even interesting as well. But no, I mean, you have these huge companies. I mean, Apple, Microsoft, Google, all these companies have tons of money locked outside the United States, right? And they don't bring it back because of a 25% repatriation fee. So it just sits there. And we just went over what the rates are at European banks. Not good. So what do? Well, right now they do nothing, right? But the goal is for them to start to slowly adopt principles that, we're talking about here in DeFi and staking and everything along that, to just juice the portfolio a little bit. And that sounds bad, but that's the job of a corporate treasurer, right? I need to make a little bit better than the money market.
So,
Yeah. So that's a big initiative for us, is to show them. So, and it relates back to your question about rates, right? Like, no, when we set out the rates, we're going to create liquidity pools and they'll be attractive. But, we are here, to me, when people say decentralized, I hear free markets, right? That's what I hear from my background and bringing, right? And that's what's going to determine the rates over time. We'll have a little guardianship to it, obviously. But it's going to be really a free market. So whatever,
I feel like that makes more sense. In fact, I always like it when companies, from what I've seen, like I like it when they have an aggressive rate at first, and then they decline that rate. And a lot of people, at first they say they don't like this, but you would want somebody to do that. You don't want, clearly, I mean, there's a lot of crazy ones out there where they're like 100%, 200% or something wild, but again, if you have let's say like a 50% or something, or 30% or whatever, and it trickles down to 8% or 10% or whatever is sustainable, clearly it's going to be a measure of whatever the pull is. You know, you don't want it to be unsustainable because you want it to be attractive enough, but you know, you still need it to protect people. You still need it for you know, I think we're going to be entering into a time, because we saw enough implosions, you know, that we're going to master this mechanism and master the way to get it done. And unfortunately, like we were discussing earlier, it does take a few implosions for it to happen, you know, but again, this is part of how a market builds itself into what it needs to be. We need to see what fails and what succeeds. And also from an investor standpoint, you need to also see what succeeds and what fails, because you know a lot of times we take in newer people on ODAP or whatever the case, and they're not used to seeing some of the staking protocols or whatever the case, and maybe they might look at something and say, you know, they see it's 72%, you know, or something like that, like, wow, that's crazy. I'm like, no, it's not. So, you know, it's always like that experience, because, you know, unfortunately, I've had my moments where, you know, I was a green pea and I got into something thinking it was going to be great, and I saw an implosion happen. But again, through the pain of cycles, we learn what succeeds and what fails, and again, we start sharpening our pencil for the right companies, or you know, the right procedures or mechanisms that we want to be part of. And you know, it's always good to have all these different failures in the past to get an understanding of what we need to do today to make the proper staking mechanism. So I really do like that you guys are gonna not have a sense of permanency on the rate, but you're gonna have a sense of hey, we're gonna be responsible, we're gonna be taking a look at this and make sure it makes sense. So that's always good to hear, especially from what we saw in Cosmos last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was last year. I want to say with like around that Luna fiasco and stuff like that. But again, if you guys are here today, you know, and if we're here and you guys are here watching us, the viewers, I think we're in good position, because we're here, because a lot of people that didn't make it, they're not here.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, and you know, we lead with the exact word that you used in asking this question a couple minutes ago, which is sustainability. And sustainability in part comes from adoption and continual adoption. And to draw it back to, you know, kind of what I described earlier as our philosophy, in getting to a point of real mass adoption through integrating with existing tech. One of the products that we're actually working on and going to be one of the first to market with is what we're dubbing as DeFi as a service. You've probably heard that term in other areas before, but maybe not quite how we're explaining it and looking at it. What we are doing and having conversation with neobanks, even credit unions, other financial institutions, is actually white labeling our decentralized finance technology, particularly on the lending and borrowing side of the house, as well as staking, and giving banks, neobanks, you know, all of the above that I just mentioned a second ago, an opportunity to adopt this tech. Again, I said white label, so slap their own logoing on top of it, that kind of thing, when really it's our backend that's pushing it all. Be able to expedite their process, and because it takes a lot of time, money, expertise to get to a point and a level of the type of tech we've built. A lot of the conversations we're having with these types of folks at these banks and everything is that
they're lost.
Right, and they would rather pay us and technology to implement it with them in a way that already works, in a way that we know is decentralized and in a capacity as such, to then slowly start to trickle it in and introduce it to their users, where not only our ecosystem, our users, our partners, you know, our community at a large level is benefiting from that volume and that new intake of users, but they're benefiting as well. And that's a way that we see Source growing in a huge way and kind of supporting all of the above, even down to our interest rates, right? So I thought that was important to add, and definitely for, you know, anybody watching right now, be on the lookout for some of those announcements on our DeFi as a service platform coming out, you know, later this year and early next. So there you have it.
So guys, I appreciate you guys coming on and spending the time with us. I want to get an update from you guys, and whenever you're available, a couple weeks, or or maybe after you launch, or whatever the case. Maybe before that. It's way too long. I got to talk to you guys. I really enjoy talking to you guys. It's always good to run into people with especially with passion. And it's always good to run into someone else that happened to suffer in corporate with me. So, that's always it's always a pleasure to talk to somebody that understands the nonsense that we witness, and then even further on the more basic things that seem to be Einstein still, when it comes to business models. So guys, for the viewers here, definitely check out sourceprotocol.io. Would you guys like to say anything on an exit? Anything else that you'd like to add before we let you go?
Just for me, thank you for your time. Thank you everyone who listened, and really appreciate being here.
Likewise, I was going to say around the same thing, man. We just appreciate our supporters, appreciate the patience with us, appreciate our community, and welcome everybody. We have a huge, in addition to the website, Dion, that you just mentioned, sourceprotocol.io, we have an extensive, what I would just describe, master white paper of everything that we just talked about that goes into really extreme detail about what we're building, what we've built already, and where all of this is headed. And you can find that at docs.sourceprotocol.io. So I would just point people in that direction as well.
Perfect. Well, guys, thank you again, and let's see you back soon. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one short.
Sure.
Give me a couple seconds here.